Good afternoon, folks. Okay, I do believe I might be a minute or two early, but welcome to Beer with the Old Growler. Yep, I tell you, got it right here. In fact, this is what was left of the old growler from yesterday. Yeah, I'm afraid I I didn't have enough to turn. I had too much to turn into soup, and I had um, enough to save. So I figured I'd screw the top right on that old growler and see what would happen after 24 hours. Well, still here, just like I am. It's a little flat. It's a little flat, just just like I am. Uh, but it's still it's looking darn good, just like I am. Um, let's see. Well, we got three folks looking in here. Welcome. I'm glad to have you with me. This is. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is not the first sip. I had a sip before I signed on. So cheers and welcome to. Let's see. What is today? Thursday. Thursday, the 26th of March, 2020. Cheers. Oh, but that's the first big sip I've had. Yes, sir. Ma'am and stuff. Hi, Mayor. Mary B. Good to see you. Excellent. Excellent. Well, as I say, I was taking a look at this glass of beer, and thinking that where I got it. In fact, I picked it up as you folks who've been following the old growler across the way, about maybe half a kilometer um, over in Brooklyn Heights. My favorite watering hole called the Henry Street Ale House exists, and they're staying in business by putting out growlers. And if you take your growler over there, nice, and they'll clean it up for you and pour you a good beer. And in fact, this is the one I've had a couple times now. Must be I like it. It's El Segundo Broken Skull. Now this has to do with not World Wrestling, Ultimate Fight Club or some kind of good stuff. Um, and it's a relatively high alcohol beer. Well, 6.7. It's an IPA. It's got Citra, Cascade, and Chinook hops in it. And taking a look at this and realizing that it comes from the Henry Street Ale House, and one of my favorite bartenders there, the two boys, Peter Z and Jerry Slippenfall. Well, uh, they both have drawn uh, growlers for me, and to think that this is the same beer that let's see now, what is it? 2 weeks ago, yeah, yeah, 2 weeks ago on the 12th of March was the last time I had a beer in the ale house, and it was not. It wasn't this one. They didn't put it on tap yet. Monica, greetings. Good to see you. I'm having some more Broken Skull. Broken Skull. This is some of the leftover beer from yesterday. As I said a little earlier, a little bit less effervescent, and a little bit less lively than yesterday. But then, oh well, no, I refuse to be less vibrant. Oh. Now we've got four folks here. If there's anybody that hasn't been here before, I'm the old growler, Peter LaFrance. So you found the channel, so you pretty much know who I am. And I have decided that since I can't go out to my favorite watering hole, as I've just mentioned, the Henry Street Ale House, Uh, I've decided to ask anybody and everybody to come and have a drink with me at 5 o'clock every day, every weekday. Every weekday we have to take 2 days off. Every weekday, and have a beer and have a little. Every once in a while we have something special to taste. Today I have 2 bottles to try out. Come on, Peter, show the people. 2 bottles. I have to remember that there's, yes, right there. Mexican chocolate stout from the Schlafly people. These folks have been good enough to send me samples over the years, and I'm very excited to taste this one, as well as, and this is something that I'm really interested in. Uh, it's a Schlafly session stout. Now, I'm a real fan of session beers. I just anything that is 4%, maybe 380, close in there for drinking. If when I get back to sitting down at a bar, that's usually the drink a beer that I'll look for. If I have to look for just pure alcohol content, of course, when you're drinking your beers, you want to be able to have your favorite beer, and it's more and more local. When I go to a bar, I always ask for something local. Ah, excellent. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Monica. Yes, there is, and I wanted to see if they stock somewhere in some of the bodegas around here. Some of them have pretty good beer lines, but if not, real something to look for. Oh, gee, it comes from Greensboro, Bend, Vermont, and I believe it's called Farmhouse Ale Company, a brewing company up in Greensboro, Vermont. And oh boy, they can go right across the styles of beers, stouts and ales and brown ales and lagers, and all of them are really great session beers. But I'll take a look through. The collection of samples that have been sent to me, and if, for those of the folks who are watching, it's going to be interesting over the next while, because some of these samples were sent to me, and I call them from the back of the fridge, and they go back. Some of them might go back to 2 or 3 years, but almost all of them are relatively high test. We'll find out. And for those that are not high test, for those who might have suffered the trials and tribulations of time, he says as he strokes his beard. Uh, I mentioned it maybe in a couple of the other old growlers, that yeah, it's time to get back into the kitchen, of course, and turn the Muscovy, which means the stuff that must go, and turn it into soups, stews, etc. And that's where beer comes in. And I'm going to give some of those older beers, mature beers, over the beers a chance to maybe steam some rice and boil some noodles, or possibly boil some pasta. So that's coming down the line, at least over the next week or two. So those of you who are still with me, um, that's what you have to look forward to. Let's see now. That was the introduction and explanation, more or less. I've tried to break this down into a. Oh, hey, Dave. No, you're not late. You're right on time, actually. Good to see you. Um, pleasure to have you with me. We're all. Um, and let's see. The next section here is tasting from the back of the fridge. It's still a little early for tasting. What do you say? It's only 5:07. I can look down here, see if it's 5:08, 5:09. But anyways, it's too early for tasting. Well, let me. I don't know if there's any real beer geek around here, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to show, for those of you who aren't beer geeks, this is a semi. This is a semi treasure. This comes from the. Yeah, it's got dust on it. This is quite a beer. For those who are beer geeks, they know it's a Thomas Hardy Ale. Now, it's a relative. This is a new one. You see, this one is only 2008. So this is a real baby, and I'm probably going to hold on to this one. But I've got one that I've got to show you folks. Yeah, I think this is the one. This is 1986. 1986. This beer was bottled, and the way things are going, I'm threatening to open up one of these just to taste them. Might as well. But anyways, so for oh, isn't it? Isn't it? Now I don't. The camera might not be good enough to pick it up, but the label, the first one that I showed you, the younger one, yeah, the younger one, 2008 or 2009. That one, it was not brewed in the same place as the other. The other was brewed in a place called Eldridge Pope, and well, part of the brewery. I'll have some of the information in the information box below. I'll put some information about Thomas Hardy Ale just to fill folks in on that. But these are ancient, and but they're supposed to be kept down. Kept down. Oh, they're supposed to be cellared. The oldest one here is, I'm looking for an ABV. My word, I don't think it has it on here. But it has got to be, it's got to be over 11%. I'm going to look this up and see. It says this ale is one of the very few British ales bottled with a natural yeast. Will mature in the bottle like a fine wine. Its flavors will improve if stored at 55 degrees Fahrenheit and will last for at least 25 years. If the bottle is disturbed before drinking, stand for 48 hours to allow the natural sediment to settle out. And again, it doesn't have an ABV on that, but I'm going to check that. That's for sure. The younger one has, yes, 11.7% alcohol by volume. So that's they are essentially wines. We have a couple, at least one or two more folks. Welcome to the Old Growler. For those of you, there we go, Robert, Schlange, cheers, Prost, L'chaim, all those other kind of good things. This is some of for those of you who just come in to visit. This is a Broken Skull, El Segundo Broken Skull. It's 6.7% ABV. It's got Citra and Cascade hops and Chinook hops. The Citra I picked up right away. The Cascade I didn't, because it is a grapefruit type of a flavor, and I'm not. I was surprised. It is relatively subtle in this, but what's in this glass is a survivor from yesterday's growler. Here, I'll show you. Ugh. Little fella. Oh, and for those of you who know Tributary, it's a fine brewery, a small brewery up there in Maine, right across. Oh, there we go. Nice hiss. Okay. I'll get to. I've always watched them do this in Western movies, and I didn't make a mess of it. Well, anyways, yeah, Tributary in Kittery, Maine, and if you're ever when you get up to Kittery, Maine, take a visit. They've got some good beers up there. The brewmaster up there, Todd Mott. I've known him since it was going way back to when he was brewing in Boston. A place right across the way from Fenway. I forget what that was called, but So many beers, so many bars, so many breweries, so little time. Um, let's see. Well, anyways, since we're getting together for a beer or soda or a good hello, a little get together. Cheers again. Oh, that's a nice piece of work. Um, I took a look with at El Segundo on on the web, and unfortunately, there's not too much information on there. They decided to hit the mattresses over the next couple of weeks and hope to survive in that type of situation. I'm imagining that they were able to get such a if they're in distribution in here in Brooklyn. I'm imagining that they're quite a large operation. So I'll keep my fingers crossed and follow up, see if I can find any information about them. Just going to have a little bit more of this before we do some tastings. The feature today is Schlafly Session Stout. Stout brewed with lactose. Stout brewed with lactose. Lactose. What and that's lactose is a bad thing. You know, lactose adds body to beer. It gives it a heavy a more full mouthfeel. It's like the umami of beer, so to speak, except it doesn't have any flavor really. It's just a sensation. Back in homebrewing days, there used to be when you in homebrewing back in the old days. Yes, exactly it. Uh, um, oh, we would use it because it would build. Oh, I know there's a difference between the sugars. Lactose, fructose, maltose, sucrose. Um, geez, there's something that, as I say, it was an umami type of a thing because we would use it in homebrewing way back when you would brew from a tin of syrup and a packet of Red Star yeast. No, it wasn't Russian or Chinese. Geez, I wonder who made it. I think it was actually, yeah, it might have been Pabst in the old days because Blue Ribbon malt syrup was the same thing. And it would have a cachet of yeast on top of it. And in the 1920s, it actually was marked, do not put this syrup in water with the yeast packet on top and put it in bottles and let it rest. You weren't supposed to do that. But to make a long story, to make a short story long, we would use lactose to put into the homebrew because the yeast would it would totally attenuate, which means it would totally eat all of the sugars in there and not leave much for the mouthfeel. It would have your alcohol and it would have the carbon dioxide, but the yeast wouldn't leave too much else for the rest of us. And because there really wasn't anything else in there, dextrose. Oh, dextrose was another part that would go into there. And we would get little packets that was called Mighty Mo. And if you were homebrew, you dump that into your homebrew, and it was like adding umami to a stew. A session stout, is it unusual? Not necessarily. I don't think so because traditionally, as I understand it, stouts are usually around no more than 4.5% alcohol. Now I'm going to take a look on this one and see what it is. Let's see where it's at. Here it goes. 4.5% alcohol by volume, 30 international bittering units from the St. Louis Brewery in St. Louis, Missouri. And there is a date on here, 10/10/20. 2019. So November 10th, 2019, this was bottled. Okay, well, let's get started with this tasting. Come on now, Peter. You've procrastinated long enough. You've talked too much. Ah, let's get my church key out. Why did they call it church key? Because it would fit into just about in the church. You didn't need too much of anything to open it up. Okay. Uh, Usually on Thursdays in the past, well, the last one was the 12th of March, getting together. You can see on the videos that are on my channel, it's called Meeting Expectations. And we get together at the Henry Street Ale House, and we take a look at a bottle of beer or a can of beer, or every once in a while, folks will send me a bottle of spirits, and we take a look at that because we're all friends in fermentation. And I think you can go back to the Old Growler 1, and that's the story about Fritz Maytag and the friends in fermentation. I'll put a link up there for that. But in any event, we take a look at the label, just like any shopper or person interested in a beer would do, and see what it tells us. And whatever it tells us, well, we say, okay, well, we must expect that. So we crack it open to see if it meets expectations. There's been a couple of times that it hasn't. So, this I really I apologize to the Schlafly people. I'm going to get in touch with you. But this is your session beer, November 10th of last year. It's been in the back of the ice box. So for those of us who are going to be tasting it, see if it meets expectations. It might be a little off, but I doubt it. I doubt it because it's been in the back of the ice box. It's okay. 4.5% alcohol by volume, 30 international bittering units. That means that it's not going to be really bitter, but there is probably, I wouldn't try and guess on the hops that they would use. And so here we go, a session stout. What are we expecting with the lactose? Now you see that, as Monica pointed out, is an extra special sweetness that might we'll add to it. It might be close to an Irish stout, an Irish milk stout. Now, am I expecting that? No, because it doesn't say that on the label. Doesn't say it on the label. Come on now. But it hint at it with the lactose. So knowing what lactose is, I might say expect it to be a little sweeter than normal. All right, let's crack it open and remove all doubt. Okay. Well, there we go. It's certainly, that's pouring exactly like a stout. Now, you folks can see this a lot better than I can. You can see the light coming through here. But it is, I can't quite tell whether it's opaque or not. Do I have my flashlight here? Wow. There it is, and I can't see it. So that is pretty opaque. So you got a stout there. And the head is very nice, very nice. Okay, ready? First sip. Well, as you probably tell by the look on my face, it's a very well balanced, pleasant. I was expecting it to be a little raspy because most stouts, without they're opaque like that, have a lot of kilned malt, which means it is just totally, absolutely roasted beyond roasted, which gives it a little bit of almost chalky type of a feel to the mouth, as we were talking about. But boy, that lactose is very much like a sweet a milk stout, but it doesn't have the density of a milk stout. I'm about to call it a porter, but I'm going to have a second sip to make sure. No, it's not a porter. That's a step. That's wow. If this was a mug and this was the beer was a little cloudier, I would call this probably a colonial brown beer. Uh, it really is. But no, it's a stout. It's a stout. It's got some raisin, a little bit of raisin at the end. Well, does it meet expectations? Yes, it does. In fact, it is piquing my expectations, and I congratulate them. Not only that, it has survived that little extra time. Oh, the scale for bittering units. Okay. Uh, Budweiser probably has around 23, maybe 30 bittering units. Um, and when we go to something that is like an India Pale Ale or one of the West Coast really hophead beers, you're going to 80 to 85, sometimes 90 IBUs. But anything over that is really just killing. It's to kill. I believe it's from 0 to 100. I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I would have to look at it. And thank you for asking. But I do know that I've rarely seen anything over 80 bittering units, and if it is, it's hop tea. And that's not a Chinese name. That's oh boy. And but that's hop tea, and every once in a while, I think resin out of 6 points could get really high in the international bittering units. So I'd have to check them out. Okay. Let's see the milk sugar. Oof, then the milk session stout. All right. Oh, and thanks, Robert, for laughing. It was a. I'm not. One should never apologize for fun because that's what punsters should never do. So I won't. All right. Well, that was the session stout, and that was really pleasant, most pleasant. If I hold on to that with a piece of Colby Vermont cheddar, it's a soft cheddar. It's not quite, and it's a little bit more buttery than most cheddars. That would, oh boy, that would go good. That would be very good. All right. Well, what's next? Well, we've got another stout. The Schlafly Mexican Chocolate Stout. Okay. Let's take a look at the label here. We know it's the same brewing company. That gives us a little bit of an idea of the quality thing, and it's been proven quality. Okay. Oh, proudly says at the bottom here, a product of the USA. Now, as Louis B. Mayer said, if you're going to send a message, somebody asked him about his movies, did they send messages? And he said, if you're going to send a message, use Western Union. And Google it up. It's a wire service. I'll never telegraph me. But anyways, that looks like a little bit of a political joke there. A Mexican chocolate stout, product of the USA, but I appreciate it. Okay, what do we got here? 6% alcohol by volume and 25 IBUs. So there's very little. Take a look at the other. Take a look at the other figure, would you, Peter? That's right. This is 30, and this is 25. So there's a little bit less bittering units on here, which I do not find unusual. I personally don't find unusual for a stout. I find it unusual for a stout to have relatively high bittering units. Okay, so we know that it's got 6% alcohol. It's a smidge of a little flavor there, and it's a chocolate stout. Now, I don't see any message about chocolate or whether it is. Now, there is such a thing called chocolate malt, and that does not mean that it is made with cacao. Chocolate malt is a roast. It's a grain. It's a grade of roasting. It's how long the malted barley has been roasted, and it gives it's essentially a chocolate flavor to a degree. Um, that's the sensory use for it, and I'm sure that there are gradations. I'll have to check again on types of malt for you guys. But anyways, I'm pontificating too much. I gotta have to drink. Come on. You're almost the end of the half hour. You're gonna run over a half hour. And these people, oh, we got some more people visiting. Great. Okay. Schlafly Mexican Chocolate Stout, made in the USA. Oh yeah. When was it made? Oh Lord. Oh no, this one is also 10/10/19. So the samples that they sent me were bottled at the same time. So this goes back to November. No, 10. Yeah, September, October. Do the math, Peter. October of last year, October 10th. Okay, once again, we've got a wicked dark beer. Okay, let's see if we can see through this one. I can see through them like a bird. Now, again, no, you have to turn it on. Bugger off. Well, anyways, I couldn't see through it. And it is that looks like that's almost a black beer. I mean, that's really, and I love the head on it. Okay, well, it's not chocolate, man. It's something else, but mother freaker, it smells good. Well, eh, it is. It's got a. It's pleasant. I mean, I like this beer. If I didn't know it was a Mexican chocolate stout, I would think it was a cherry beer, a cherry stout. I'm getting an awful lot of cherry in here. Hard stone, dark cherry, not a slightly bitter cherry, sour cherry. That's what I'm getting off of this. This is a beautiful. I mean, that is an incredibly nuanced cherry beer. Why it's called a Mexican chocolate stout, I don't know. I would suggest that the kids at Schlafly immediately run back there and just simply change the label, because this would be a oh, maybe a chocolate cherry. Oh, okay, I'll give him that. I'll give him that. I've got the chocolate. This would be a chocolate cherry, boy. This would be a Valentine's beer to beat the band. Yes, sir, Bob. Oh, with the filled. In some societies, that's not a good thing. Some of the filled cherry things with the cream in the middle of them. Wow, boy, that would that would be a great Valentine's Day dessert. Um, I'll have to let the folks there know. Well, let's see, we got 6 folks here with us. I know Monica and Mary and Dave and Robert And we got, that means we got 2 lurkers out there. Well, welcome, welcome, kids. This is the Old Growler. As you found me, you know that the channel is Peter LaFrance. If there's anybody has any comments, either leave it in the comment box below if that's possible, or send it to peter.lafrance@beerbasics.com, and I'd be perfectly glad to either add the material or I would love to read your comments on this. Oh, Steve's one of the lurkers. Okay, great. Well, say hey. Greetings, Steve. Greetings, Steve. Salut. Santé. Ne pas de paix. Let's see. And the other thing is for those of you who are watching and who might be new, Monica, I saw you did. Please subscribe to the channel that you're watching. I would appreciate that. Send it to your friends. Share it. These are a little long, so you might want to share them. Some of the 5-minute tastings that we did to break them in, and then they can come visit. I'm going to have a little bit more of this. This thing that I was disparaging, the Mexican chocolate stout. This is for this afternoon, boy. This is a. Did I put a top back on? Yes, I did. I put the top back on the growler. Oh, a minute out of focus. Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any a question? Can you give me a question? Only one. I'm not going to give you questions 3 before you can go across the bridge, but a question. Does anybody have a question? I'll think about it while I. Oh, damn it. That's nice. No questions. Oh dear. All right. Well, I have gone over my 1.5 hour self-imposed limit. So I thank everybody for stopping in. Oh, what am I listening to? This is Pandora, and I think it is the Gordon Lightfoot channel. But the tune that is on now is, if I remember correctly, from the old days, Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler with the Ballad of the Green Berets. Yeah. Oh boy, that was the Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler and the Battle of the Green Berets. Oh yeah, isn't it though? For those of us who are old enough to remember those days. Oh boy, we've got so much in our C drive. You know, you talk to oh, how can I can't remember a date? Of course, I got to go through my entire C drive to try and remember something like that. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. As I say, well, boy, if I was going to do the best, the best Vietnam War movie. That is a tough call because so many of them were jingoistic, but there was one called Go Tell the Spartans. It was done relatively early, and I think it was Kirk Douglas was in it. And I was impressed with the writing and acting in it. I wasn't the special effects, everything else was pretty lame. But if I remember right, I was impressed with they had some sequences that had to do with small unit tactics. And having gone to a military university, I understood some of those tactics, and I thought that was appropriate. But anyways, I digress. But I wish everybody a good night, and I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow to have a beer with the Old Growler. Safe trip, folks. Stay safe. Okay. Love you all.